Stop recording.
And by then I was already using Speak Up, which one I have here.
Go to gallery. Button.
Okay.
004.
Yeah.
Well, I get
Home
that.
QWB chair.
So, and I get then why to you the flat review is a super huge priority.
Yeah, because if I type Alpine space -I see an index of messages, and I don't want to just listen to the index straight through, for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. I like to actually read the index one by one, and then sort them by arrival, sort them by this way, and deal with the messages in certain ways. And without the flat review, I can't do that.
I'm gonna say one thing here. When I'm chromebook all day long, like I'm worm all day long, but when I go into my menu, how do I explain this? When I go into my mailbox, I use Gmail. I can, of course I need to read every message to find out what it is. I don't know what kind of sorting that I have, and I think for me, I am on lots of different mailing lists. I get I don't know how many hundreds of emails I get a day, but they need to be prioritized, of course. I don't read everything. If I had to read any emails from all of my mailing lists, I wouldn't get anything done, basically. So I think it could be interesting to take time, maybe one day a week or something like that, in a single meeting, sit down with you and find out, okay, what are your wants, what are your needs, because there's a difference between wants and needs. Remember how I talked about, blind people being, dependent on their computers before. We need, and I'm sure that I'm talking for Felix as well, Chime, when you turn on your Chromebook, we need to make sure that this is the best experience that you can ever get.
That would be wonderful.
And if we can do this, we need to speak to you until we understand your needs.
Right, but I honestly, Sandy, I've been mentioning my needs for months and months and months, especially on the list. And there are people on that list who have replied to me and said that I won't be able to do even I think Kenny a week or two ago said that he explained to me why, for example, I can't go into Nano and Linux on the Chromebook and have a successful editing session, And even Felix said, the very first time Felix was here, he said, yeah, just imagine trying to edit a script, you can't. Yeah, and they explain it because of the VM.
I'll be honest with you and say this. I've been thinking quite a bit about you in my last YouTube video, because I needed to stress test the Pixel Go the other day, and I couldn't do it. There was no tools to do this. Okay. Now you say that you come from Linux, so you're gonna understand my next the next thing I'm saying. We have the yes thing in Linux that we've been talking about before. So you can go out and type in a thing where yes is gonna run in the background, put some load on the CPU, and that's gonna be it. Okay, that was not what I was after. So I went out and used APG-get for installing some other programs. And this is why I want to have the ability to sit down with you and have you explain to me word for word, because maybe you are talking and it's 100% clear to you what you want, but we just don't get it. That's possible. I find it likely that's the way it is, because I can hear when you're talking about flat review. That has to be a hard one. I think I can't find a way around that one. But what I think is,
do you
go on.
Do you want me to explain?
Yes, yes. Go by all means. Go ahead. Explain. Don't be,
Okay,
don't be shy about explaining to us over and over and over.
No, it's feeding back. That's what's throwing me off. Do you want me to explain to you what I think flat review is?
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So, and Manny, if you think that my explanation is not what she's after I'm done, you please, fire away, because I obviously, so in NVDA and in SpeakUp and in the DOS screen readers, like Vocalize back in the 90s, like I'll start with Vocalize. I could hit the Alt key and it would freeze the screen and it would go into review. And I could then hit the up arrow or the down arrow and review line by line by line what I've already heard. Okay, so, and then if I hit the Alt key again, it would unfreeze the screen. So that was how Vocalize worked in DOS. In SpeakUp, it doesn't freeze the screen. You use the numpad row, the 4, 5, and 6 keys to review previous line, current line, and next line. The numpad 4, 5, and 6. I use those all day long. When I go into my inbox, or if I'm reading a message, whether it's the index or an individual message, I might have to look at a spelling or something. And there's on the bottom row, it's confusing because the numpad row is the opposite of the regular. So it's like the 1, 2, and 3. I think one of them gives you the spelling of the words, and there's a whole sequence for this.
There's right. Depending on what row of keys of the 10 key you were on, it either goes by word, by character, or by line. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And in the Chrome, I don't have a way to do that, and that's the big difference between my being able to get comfortable with this machine and use it more than just as a Zoom tool. Right. Right now, that's all I'm using it for is webinars, and that's if that's all it is, well. I sort of get the impression that the people at Google don't understand what I want, or maybe they can't make it happen, or maybe they will never make it happen. I don't know. And I have to applaud you, Sandy. Many weeks ago, you said, I have something that's going to make you smile. And you were talking about the review and something. And I thought, well, okay, let's see what you can find, So anyway, those are my comments. If you, I guess the only other thing I could say, Sandy, is that do you have a Linux machine that's not part of the Chromebook that you can use where I could? Well, I was going to say I couldn't show. I'm just trying to think how I could simulate to let you see what I need. You'd have to run Alpine. You'd have to go into your inbox and or something. I'm just trying to think how we could, It's not like I'm going to have you log into my home machine and just so you could see it.
Oh yeah, baby, come on! I'd love that.
Yeah. Anyway, so once you see what it is that I'm after, yeah, maybe you can have some idea of how to explain it to some of these.
I have been using Pine before. I've been using Pine for a long time. I've also been using the browser Lynx, Lynx, and
okay. So can you?
And I think how did I do this?
Can you run?
I think I used a braille display, so I kind of have my little cursor that was going up and down across the web page, and then I got tired about it and changed to Windows because it was just faster using the TTS.
You can install Alpine on the Chromebook, I think.
Yes, I definitely could do this.
Now, if you were to do that, of course, you'd have to tell Alpine where your mail was. You know, so it would be. I don't know. I'm just trying to.
I want to try something. You guys go ahead and keep talking, and I just disappear for probably about 120 seconds. I want to try this mail problem, see if I can emulate my way out of this bit. But of course, I said this before. We are going a long way to help you, and we will, because I think that was what Laura was concerned about. That we're just sitting around shooting the breeze. And we are also doing that, but as I said on the mailing list, I mean, obviously, if you have a problem, by all means, speak up. We're gonna find a way around it.
Right, but
I don't think that she minds anything. She just didn't want. She feels defensive of her developers. She didn't want us telling them that they had to get their shit together.
Yeah, but they gotta get the shit together. There's no way around it. I mean, I will not.
That's true, but just don't mistake or at least what I read into her message. I don't think she really cares like how we handle it. She just wants to keep the list where we're not, insulting her developers. That's all.
Oh, I know. I want to. Actually want to give my my main program a crack for just a couple of minutes. See if I can come up with something that he can emulate on his computer. So you two go on and do your thing for a couple of minutes, and I'll be back with you.
Cool.
Okay, thank you there, Sandy.
So here's the thing: is keep this in mind. In order, if we're talking command line stuff versus graphical interface,
right?
Options. Sticky mode enable.
Just keep in mind how long it took you to learn those switches.
Search web shows up create inbox starts
when
send
you
mail.
have to put a dash in a letter or a slash in a letter, or
your invoice from Apple. Invoice Apple ID Sandy 1 tick box. Critical security alert. Sign into critical security. Try to sign into happened review 417 tick box. Apple. Your invoice from Apple. Cruise Captain VEJ 29600 order IDM 410 PM. Tick box. Arrows off GmbH. You Wings Pro Hamburg and Mega Airport Ben Gurion. Less than pound problems viewing this email. Click here. Link pound greater than XD simulation 3:35 PM. Tick box. Same time same place. Today's meeting. Tick box. Today's meeting. Count on me, so it'll hold down the 4 new link coming up. Today's meeting. Count on less than 30 minutes. Today's meeting. Count on me, so it'll hold down the 4 new link coming up on 10/2/2018 Express Mission.
I recognize what you mean about change coming difficult and coming slow, but hoping it makes you. It's not really getting rid of that much if you were to trade out some of the knowledge of what you know on switches to learning a few hotkeys.
Well, sure, but hotkeys. I mean, hotkeys are just a shortcut for a longer typing or whatever. It's sort of like batch files in DOS or an alias in Linux.
Yes,
I guess you could say.
Except that, yes. And then additionally, the only difference being that when you're running, for example, you're doing a hotkey to do something. Well, kind of like, doing Control P to print, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, yes, that is shorter than going to an icon on your toolbar and clicking on it, or pulling down a menu to do it. Or, like in DOS when we would type, print / whatever, the file name.
Yeah.
But when you do a screen reader command, like, a command to move to the next heading or a command to move down to the next bolded text, those really aren't a batch file that exists in another way. So in other words, I can't execute that command through some other backdoor.
Right.
So
the other thing, Manny, is that unfortunately, in Linux, a lot of the man pages are not written for beginners, and you have to have a certain amount of knowledge to even understand the sequence. And if you don't have that, then at least in DOS, it seemed like the help menus were more descriptive. I don't remember what they said, but it seemed like they were. And one time on the Linux list, which is the blind Linux list or something. I think I pasted in a section of a man page once. I said, well, and somebody did agree with me, like, well, gee, if you don't know what a Boolean expression is, you're not going to understand this. It's like, yeah.
Sure. Sure, yeah. And that's the thing, is that, I get that you guys are in a very, I don't know I hear how powerful it is from other blind users and other sighted users. So I know, it's a great, valid OS.
Right.
It definitely is like something that you guys know more about than.
Right. But the whole reason there's two reasons I wanted to get a Chromebook. One was a lightweight way of replacing my, of taking on trips instead of a heavier Linux laptop, which used to be Windows. The second was so that I could access graphical sites that I can't do in links anymore because of the JavaScript issue. But the navigation in the Chromebook is not what you would call intuitive, and that drives me. It's like, well, why can't I do it this way? So
I have a question.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm sitting here and thinking all 12 cylinders going, and I think that if one of us take you, Chime, and sit down with you and start from, really, really basics and get you up to speed in your own tempo, in your own time, you will learn to use the Chromebook just fine. And I mean, I know that was rhyming, but that wasn't my intention. But that is what I think, because I'm not especially technical. I mean, I know my way around because I've been living alone, blah blah blah. There was no other one to do it, yada yada yada. But if I'm gonna say this, if I can use the Chromebook, everybody can, and pretty much that's a fact. And that's what I think. Really.
You're so fun, Andy.
Well.
You're so fun.
Yeah, I know, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, too. The way I'm seeing it, I mean, so I get what you're interested in, Chime.
Yes.
The way I'm seeing it is that, you're used to having and wanting to work with it in a certain way.
Yes.
And if that part of the operating system is not robust enough yet, we either have to kind of grin and bear it or figure out a more, a way that lets you in a little bit further. And whatever way that ends up being, that's cool. But I recognize how you're trying to use this for a certain thing, and it's not going to be as easy to make it do what you want to do.
Right, and this, what I was, when if I had some way to show Sandy an index of messages in Alpine, and I'd say, okay, now review the screen for what you just heard. How would she do that? Would she use she could try to use her sticky keys if they worked, but I don't think the sticky keys let you go up very far on the screen to, like on my Linux machine, I have 135 lines on, and I forgot how many columns, it's configurable.
I think I have about, I don't know, how many messages do we have in our inbox and Gmail? Many, I think it's 200.
It's
200. It's a lot. I mean,
but I think in Gmail you can arrow up and down through the messages, right?
Yeah, and you can use the search key with the letter X, which will let you also quickly get to the checkboxes that allow you to like move them or delete them or manage them.
Oh. Uh-huh.
So there are some pretty useful hotkeys to help you kind of manage that, but there are there's a little.
I actually, I wonder if I take my computer and just get it out on in my inbox, if he's gonna be able to hear it.
Here, watch him.
I've heard Gmail inboxes before.
Okay.
I mean, I've done it a few times, and it's. I think I've read a few messages that way, but it's, like Pine or Alpine is very powerful. I love the aggregate command. If I have 9 messages that are spam, I just type the semicolon and put in the numbers, and I can hit A for reply and D for delete and X to expunge, and they're gone. It's
now
really
there's a similar workflow for using Gmail through the GUI, but it is a different process, but it's similar. You mark them all with the X key, or excuse me, you move to them all with the X key and check or uncheck with your space bar.
Yeah.
After you do that, you can you can move to the button that says delete or archive or what have you, move. So there's a similar flow, there's a similar workflow, but obviously the keys and the that kind of stuff that you use is going to be different.
Well, I mean,
I think it's actually to say that the most of works for Google works have been pretty much down with Linux and Nix in general. That's how I understand it at least, but I could be mistaken.
I mean, obviously, if Gmail is just a matter of arrowing up and down through messages, and it's just you mash enter to read them. If that's all it is, that's not so bad. That's then you don't need your sticky keys necessarily. Although I can't, I don't have any way to arrow across the word or across the sentence the way I can in SpeakUp that I know of in the Chromebook.
You've got to use your shift and arrow keys, shift search with arrow keys.
Oh, Jesus, Christmas! So that's 3 keys at one time.
Thus,
he can use tab as well, but yeah, Jesus comes around at Christmas.
Not for us Jews.
But that's the thing. Tab won't let you read character by character.
No. What situation are we talking about here?
Okay.
Well, are we talking about he's standing in the inbox because then he can just use the tab key all the way down, and it's pretty much gonna send him it's gonna read the subject line and some of the mails. I think Pine did this as well. If you wanted it to, you could preview the mail or something like that.
Well, yeah, but I think what I'm saying there, Sandy, is that I so far don't have a really good way, or a way that I understand that if I'm hearing a sentence or a paragraph or whatever in the Chromebook, I don't have a good way to arrow through line by line or character by character or word by word, and like I can in my Linux machine or even in Windows.
Okay, that's the way around that, and that's
you guys. That's just learning key command.
Yeah, I was gonna say this. That's 3 keys. So yeah, as I said before, yes, Jesus come around also at Christmas.
Yeah, well, guess what? For some of us Jews, it doesn't come around. So
right.
No, but hey, for you Jews, there's another party going on at that time. I believe. No, it's not at Christmas time. Oh, what am
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. Yeah, you call it something else. And that's the same thing.
He calls it. That's what he calls it. No.
I mean, it's like so yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but so that's the reason why there is a sticky key mode.
Yep.
Is for those.
That's for those sticky fingers that doesn't sit still.
Now, do you guys know where to go to get to the list of the menus full of commands? Chime.
I'm sorry, but you were chopped up by her microphone again. Well, one more time with the question.
I was just wondering, do you know where to go to find the menu? There's a few menus with the screen reader commands, and that's one place that I looked in order to assemble, to get some commands together and to learn some of the ones that let you read character by character.
I think I've downloaded some files that I have in my Linux shell account that might have some character, but I don't think they have all of them. What was really nice in Windows was that you could hit the F1 key for help in a lot of contexts, and it would give you something. The Chromebook, I don't think it has anything like that.
Okay, well, let's go back a little bit, okay? Because we don't want to look at what it doesn't have yet. Let's go back to the fact that, do you know where to find those commands that are listed in the menu?
I would say no.
Okay, because that's going to be... All right, have you spoken another language before? Have you ever been to another country? Because basically, we have to come down to equivalencies.
Okay, to answer your question, I've only been to Jamaica and Mexico on cruises.
Perfect.
I've been to Canada, but I learned some Hebrew back in the '60s for my bar mitzvah, but
Nice.
I don't know any now, per se.
Okay.
So English is really my only language.
Okay.
I tried being a ham operator twice. I tried learning the Morse code, and the problem was that if I missed one word in the sequence, I had a hard time joining it in progress. That was what I noticed.
Well, that only points to an area where you just have to do a little bit of shoring up of that skill. But, consider this, that when we go to another country, because that's really how I like to look at operating systems, all right? You're used to getting your help from F1 in Windows. That's just like in the United States, we may used to be dialing 0, which I know that anybody under 20 doesn't know about the operator.
Right.
But you would, you know what I mean? So we could dial 0, whereas in Mexico, the assistance comes with a different set of numbers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
yes, of course I do.
So, okay.
I used to work for a phone company for 35 years, so.
Perfect.
I'm 68 and almost 68 and 3/4.
Well, that's why I figured you know what I'm talking about then.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, is that instead of F1 or insert F1 for JAWS, you would do the search key and the beauty. And that's going to give you a nice big list of a few different menus, and they're broken up based on what you want to do. Like, there's a menu called web navigation, I believe, and that just has about 60 commands of how to move through the web, okay, and how to move around a page. But here's the thing. As a teacher, I've seen students, and I've seen many people, and it doesn't matter, but a lot of us base what we know and what we're able to do based on the amount of commands that we have, or based on the amount of commands, it's kind of where, I don't know all the commands. Well, there is, if you're looking at an operating system with several hundred commands, we're not ever going to know them all, and nor do we need them all.
Right. You just know what you needed at a certain time.
Right. So what I tell people, if you're jumping into anything brand new, what you want to do is slowly assemble the same commands that helps you do what you know how to do on another system. So when I began learning Chrome, I took 90% of what I needed to do in Windows, like answering messages and responding back to my boss and filling out timesheets and what have you. I slowly began porting some of those actions and bring them over to, okay, so how do I send a message in, on my Chromebook? put to the side the fact that you're using a command line to do some of those things, the idea still holds the same, that we don't need to do anything super high tech or anything, but if you can do any of the basic things that you can do on another operating system, learn how to do that. Gives you a roadmap for how you begin adopting one.
Well,
another super huge important thing is that process makes you have to cherry pick or curate only the commands that you need out of that pile of several hundred. I always tell people, start with your basic reading commands, because many times those will get you in and out of many situations.
Right, but you see, there's the average person who even could figure out the Chromebook isn't going to know the screen reader commands to do these things.
That's right. That's what you got to learn, man.
Right,
That's the thing. That's the crux of the issue. That in any way, because I get what you're saying. Yeah, nobody would know it.
But you see, in the Windows days, there were people that weren't blind that still knew the keystrokes to get in and Alt F4 to close a window or whatever. Not everyone knew them, but
X did. You are correct.
I mean, when I go to Susie's Windows machine and I go into IE because that's the only web browser that I even slightly understand, I can do a Control O and it says open URL or whatever. Here, there's not really an equivalent keystroke that I can tell this thing to, that I'm ready for typing an address. I have to
You must find that.
I gotta stop you right there, because there is a keystroke for that. It's called Control L.
Without going there, that's what I'm telling you, is that you must find those equivalents.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Again, to use the country analogy, when I gotta go to the bathroom, I'll ask somebody, and that's when you might learn in Australia that it's called a loo, not a bathroom, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's Britain also.
Yeah, exactly. But it's the same kind of idea, is that you have to go in there with the mindset of, I need to find an equivalent.
Right. Well, you see, Manny, I tend to go back to, as you might call it, my comfort zone. And
right.
So I have a Chromebook and I'm thinking, oh, good, it has Linux. I can just go open a Linux prompt and install the tools I like and just use it that way. But because of this, essentially at this point, if I had the flat review, I could be really happy with this machine.
But there's a lot of ifs, you know what I mean? There's a lot of ifs that you keep coming back to. And if those ifs never become resolved,
then I guess I could try a Mac or something. I don't know.
Well, you could, or maybe you could begin to assemble a few commands that might help you on the machine that you have in front of you. That's just a way to think about it. But
right, if I'm used to reading my mail in Alpine, if my sticky keys aren't, I don't know if they're not enabled or they're not working or what the reason is, and I have no flat review, and I guess we seem to think that I may never have it, then how am I supposed to navigate?
You would need to learn something. I mean, I'm not,
No.
Like I'm saying, I mean, it's not impossible, but you have to pick a starting point, or if you want to keep the machine that you have, and if you don't want to go out and buy a Mac, I'm going to tell you what, if you don't already know Mac, you're going to be jumping into a brand new country with a brand new set of rules to learn.
Yeah, and the Mac...
That's just the way it is when you jump OSs.
And I think the Mac uses 3 keystrokes at the same time also, doesn't it?
Occasionally, yeah.
But I think there's a way to change that to 2.
Yes, but to me, there are different ways to evaluate whether you want to make that change, not just based on the keystrokes that you're going to have to... I mean, granted, I know it's huge, but functionality, like you're saying, functionality matters, right?
Yeah,
and in order to get the type of flat review that you're hoping for, you'll want to consider whether it's going to do it over how many keys you got to use. And then just know that you are seeking out a brand new beast to tackle. And if you expect to tame that beast, you will have to go after it.
Well, if the sticky keys actually worked like a real flat review, I could hit that key twice and arrow up and read what I needed to do and then exit that function. It could be done just sort of like when I was in DOS, with Vocalize, with the Alt key to freeze and unfreeze the screen. I mean, I could put
But does stating that help you?
Does what?
Does stating that help? How does stating that help you? I mean, like, I get...
Because I mean, if the sticky keys really work the way they're supposed to, I could probably get by.
Okay, look. Let's not confuse your flat review and reading a command line versus sticky keys, okay? Because those are going to be a couple of different things. Sticky keys just makes it so that you don't have to hold down any modifier keys.
Oh no! I'm sorry, Manny. As far as I understand, the sticky keys is a review function, but it's not very good.
No, well, it's not a review function. It locks keys. It makes it so that you don't have to hold down too many modifiers.
But when I've hit the sticky keys and turned them on, I can up arrow and read the previous lines of the screen.
So let me explain that. That is because it's simulating what I would do if I held down Shift, Search, and up arrow. That is why it seems like when you turn on sticky keys, you hit your arrow keys and it does something new. It's because it's simulating holding down two other keys.
Okay.
That's the way it works.
But that's sort of on the avenue of what I'm looking for.
Avenue, but that's very different. It's very different, bro. That's why I'm trying to explain that if you look at the underlying commands that make Chrome do what it does, and then it may help demystify some of why it will, and then you will also see where the avenue is, because you're right. It's close, but it definitely is not going to solve what you need in that special situation.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I get it, man. I get it, but I think we want to, it'll help you to go into some of the...
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I have a question, and I have been sitting here and really thinking. I sometimes do this. Remember, I told you guys I'm an introvert, so I can do both. I think it could be interesting to find out, because I use a Mac computer as well. I used Mac, I used Windows, I used Linux, Cygwin, whatever you call it. Right now I'm using a Chromebook, and in 10 years from now it's probably going to be the next thing. To me, it's not a problem going to a new country, learn the language. To put it in the analogy that we are down with. But Chime, I have a really I have a question for you, and by all means, please don't take this the wrong way, because I really want to understand you. And first of all, I really want to tell you how sorry that I am that we have not understood you before. Because I'm sure that I'm also speaking for Felix, because we I'm not sure that I really have understood your struggles with the Chromebook before now, actually. And I'm actually really unhappy about that. So I'm gonna cook up something, see if I can help you more in the future. But it's gonna I can say this already now. For that to work, we most likely gonna keep some single meetings with you.
I'm sorry, we're gonna what?
We're probably gonna have to arrange some special meetings for you so we can teach you. It's most likely.
Well, that's fine. I mean, I think. I think without the feedback and all that, I think that I can still type keys on the Chromebook, and you'll hear what it's saying, and I could follow along from here.
Absolutely, you can do that, and I have a hotkey for my microphone, so I can turn it on and off, which I do, and
it's only when you started recording that we started getting the feedback.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. We didn't have that problem the last time. I will look into it. The reason why I'm recording this now is because of Felix is not here, and I actually want him to hear all of this.
Absolutely. Felix is a brilliant guy. I mean, not to say that Manny isn't or you are, and it's just that, but Felix, I think, has more of a Linux background, I think.
I don't know, but I have so my question is really
yes.
I'm kind of thinking, how do I set this up? Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna find out how I'm gonna set this up.
And the other thing that, and again, not to be at all critical, Sandy, but English is not your first language, and if somebody's going to help me step by step, I've got to be able to understand it perfectly well without thinking, well, what is that?
Yeah, Felix's first language is German, so...
but Felix speaks better English.
Well, you have to... I'm not sure it's going to be Felix. I can say that right now, because he's quite busy.
I get that. I get it. It could be Manny. It could be somebody else. I get it.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you that,
the thing is, I'm trying to find out.
So if I understand what you're saying, Sandy, you're saying that up until this morning you did not really understand what my issue was.
Not in the way that I do now, and I still have. I'm not gonna say I have problems follow along because but that can be because to me using the Chromebooks it's so easy. I mean, it's like sitting up into my P51 and just take off and do loop-de-loops in 3,000 feet.
Yeah. Right, and I got like I explained to Manny, I got the Chromebook for two reasons. One was
I heard them. I was sitting quietly and listening. That's why I say sometimes I do this. I will sit back, close my eyes, and just absorb what you're saying.
I mean, even when I was in Windows, I still went to a DOS prompt and did stuff because I was comfortable that way. I didn't use Windows any more than I had to. The only thing it was in Windows I could play sound, as where in DOS it was a lot more difficult, And so I've always looked for that comfort zone, And the Chromebook, like later versions of Windows, is not a comfort zone for me,
So I want to get this right. So basically, what you are saying is that your comfort zone is like a command prompt driven operating system.
Yes.
Okay, I think it's going to be.
With the exception of web browsing.
Okay.
Which,
because if that is the exception, the Chromebook is for you.
The Chromebook is for me?
Yeah, absolutely. We just need to teach you. And I'm gonna say this right off the box. I don't really care how many hours it takes me because I get my money in another way. So I can sit and do this for free all day long.
That's very kind of you, Sandy. I gotta say, but
But that's one. I need to come up with some analogies that I am 100% sure that makes sense to you.
I think Manny wanted to say something, but the feedback's going to chop him up, though.
No, I'm going to turn up the microphone and he can talk. We already talked about this, him and me, by telepathic thoughts.
And here again, there's only 3 of us on the meeting again. We still can't seem to get more than 4 or 5 people total. We just, it's not expanding at all.
It's expanding just fine. Kenny Kenny is out doing other things.
Right. Okay, go ahead, Manny. You wanted to talk, I think.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, and understanding, I think the big thing also from my perspective is seeing how you want to use it. And not only just that you're after the flat review and that's a feature. I think what I really am getting more than anything now during the last part of our conversation is realizing that, you're kind of in a little bit of a niche world. You're in a niche where you said that you're doing command line stuff in Windows and you're really wanting that same kind of behavior in other command line settings.
Well, I do command line in Linux. I know as I went
here's the thing. Understanding that that's your comfort zone, and I know that that's what you're looking for, I just want you to realize that you're kind of you have a little box that is not as it will let power users do quite a bit, but where you're at, and I think what you're wanting out of it, you might be boxing yourself in a little bit.
Well, see, my goal was to go to websites that I can't access from Linux with the Chromebook, and if I tab around, I don't necessarily know how to, click. I mean, I'm sure there must be a command to do a mouse click or something like that, and I don't know what they are. And like you say, maybe they're listed somewhere. You said shift period, you said search period or something.
Hey, yeah. Do you watch any of the videos? Do you watch any of the Chromebox videos?
I watched one or two that Sandy made last week, but I think it was mostly me and her talking anyway. But as far as other ones, not lately.
All right. So they are big, but I really suggest go on to YouTube, look up the Chromebox, and there are probably about 10 how-tos done by Laura. They're very brief, they're very overview, but she does actually talk about keyboard ways of doing things and then the mouse ways of doing things with regards to assistive technology.
Okay. And
you really should do that, because that's where I actually first started writing down my first few commands. And you got to make yourself a cheat sheet. You got to make yourself something that you're willing to refer back to, because it's never going to get into any of our memories unless we see it over and over again when we need a certain command.
Yeah.
You got to use it. And so look up her videos. They're short, but you can get started with those, because I think you're going to need to. I would advise learning to use your machine. It's kind of like again, you can't go somewhere and learn a new language and expect to get very far if you don't know words beyond yes and no. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And in order to say yes, no, please, oh my gosh, I've been able to use those 3 words, to do lots of things. You know what I mean? But the point is that you want to get a few commands under your belt that could help make it a better experience for you.
Well, thank you. I will attempt to do that between now and next Friday's meeting. I have tools, YouTube viewer and things like that, where I can search for things, and I can play them in MPV in Linux. So that's easy.
That's good.
Also, I want to say something, but go on.
Remember that
you're both talking at once.
Go on,
you
man.
need to balance. Sorry.
No, go on.
You need to whether you want the comfort or do you want the functionality of a different environment.
I guess I wasn't. I'm. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I was looking for a different environment. I was just looking for a different machine to do the same, to do something additional because of the Chromebook has JavaScript access, which I didn't have in Linux.
Right.
And
so that's the thing, is you're looking for a different machine, but you're realizing that you're kind of, not only is it a different machine, but it's a different way of doing things.
Yeah, I know.
Some of which is not very, accessible or in the way that you want. So
that's right.
That's what I'm telling you, man. Ifs are a big, it's a big phrase. And so if it doesn't do what you want, the way that you feel that it should be done, we have to start looking at it as, do we as users have to kind of maybe adjust our approach? And it's a different answer for everybody. There's no right or wrong.
I have a question for you guys. I mean, how have you tackled other problems in life where, I mean, your computer can be the only issue that where you are running into the situation? How did you learn how to use a cane, for example?
Oh boy.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's maybe a bad one, but you know what I mean.
No. I'll tell you, after you turn off your microphone, I'll explain to you your concept.
Okay, go on.
Thank you. All right, so here's the deal, Sandy. I grew up in New Jersey, which is near New York City, and back in those days, they didn't start teaching the cane until you were at least 16 years old. Now they have kiddie canes, and so I would walk around my neighborhood. I didn't cross streets by myself, but I'd walk around my neighborhood. I didn't need a cane. I could hear objects. I didn't, because many of us that are blind hear objects because the sound bounces off, and so when I first saw a cane when I was 16 years old, I'm like, what do I need this thing for? I can walk around my neighborhood. I don't need it, and I never really learned it well. To me, it just seemed like a toy that they were trying to force me to learn. And I'm not saying I've never crossed the street in my life, but eventually by 1981, I was crossing streets diagonally, and I says, something, this isn't for me. I'm not doing it successfully. I'm not going to do it anymore. And so I don't do it anymore.
Oh,
so what do you do?
We have here in the States, we have access paratransit in different cities. You can call up for a ride a day in advance, and they'll come and pick you up. Or of course, we have Uber and Lyft, which are how do I explain that to
those are car request. I know that they've got Uber there in Denmark, right?
We don't have Uber, but I know what we have the same thing over here. So I want to make this. I want to be sure I understand you right. Are you telling me that you never crossed the street today? Just yes or no?
That's correct. Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I do not cross the street today, nor do I want to.
The microphone tied.
Because I don't feel like that feedback is killing me.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want.
But I need to speak to you.
I don't want to risk my life just to prove something.
No, but yeah, okay. Okay, I didn't. Okay, yeah, okay. So the cane was a bad comparison. I see that.
But I think in a general way, though, Sandy, I think you raise a good point. You're trying to get a grasp of how do I learn something brand new. And to be honest with you, I almost want to say that I usually don't.
Yeah.
Okay, brother. So look, let's be real for a second.
I just was.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's neither good nor bad. It's just based on where you want the outcome to come to. There is the choice of not learning it, and that's okay. And then there's the choice that you learn how to do it safely. Okay, and either one of those is okay. And I can understand if you're looking at it through the lens of risking your life to prove something. That's one way to look at it. Versus, hey, I used to do this. Kind of like the situation that you're on with your machines now. I used to use a command line on a different machine and I was happy. And to use that same comparison, you were used to doing things a certain way until the day that you decided, hey, I'm crossing diagonally. I don't want to do this anymore.
You know something, Manny? When I first got out here to the Los Angeles area in 1978,
Okay, I'm listening.
Okay, I had mobility instruction. I mean, you can easily get it from the Braille Institute or whatever, and and I wasn't very good at it, and most of the instructors I had were very negative, and they would concentrate more on the mistakes that you made rather than the positive, way of. I have had maybe one or two instructors in my life that I would consider positive. So I was starting to get mobility, and at the time, and I have a large record collection. I have over 3,045s.
Right.
And so I was within a block or so of two bus stops with different bus companies. I thought, wow, once I can master this, I can go to any record shop in the city. Now you understand, and maybe Sandy would realize that most of our record shops are closed now. I mean, because
I know.
You just buy them.
I can't dig for crates anymore, man.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, this will be wonderful. But the more that I went out and tried to go places, the more struggling and frustrating it was. Like when I was starting to learn how to cook. And so I finally realized, something, to make scrambled eggs and a slice of toast and to butter it and make the instant coffee. At the time, I didn't know how to brew coffee yet. Now I do. I thought, it takes so much longer to make this thing than it does to enjoy it. It's like, what's the point? I mean, I'm better off with heating something up in the microwave that's fast.
That's where your stance is. And that's okay, as long as you're willing to deal with the fact that it won't ever improve.
I know.
Okay, because that's really what it. Hey, man, look, my wife is blind too. Okay, there are lots of things here that I do. When I've got two kids and I take care of this household damn well, but whenever she talks about things that I know how to do way better than she does, I tell her that it's, we'll work through it. I can train you, but it is either you accept that you don't like where the lack of not doing it has gotten, or don't. You know what I mean? But it's hard to torture ourselves for what we wish we could have done, but still not doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Manny, it was interesting when my late dad, back in the late 50s, early 60s, when I would have friends over the house, my dad would invariably say, well, Bruce or George can do this, how come you can't? It's like, well, and that analogy didn't work for me. It was kind of like, well, we're all different, and it's like, just accept it, just deal with it,
And that's true, but here's the other side of things that. And again, I've never gone to school to do any of this stuff, but I taught for about 13 years teaching computers at a center for the blind here in Tucson.
Oh.
And there were some very predictable outcomes. When you took a person who, and mind you, I've taught, people who were, an 89-year-old who I've taught teaching using the iPad. And I've had these little snot-nosed 17-year-olds. And inevitably it comes down to, does the person see a need to go for it? And does the person see the need to go for it? Because the people who pretty much stop the conversation by, and I know that you are not doing this, but this is just an analogy that some people, when I say, okay, well, you know what? We can go and download that manual right now. And if the first words out of their mouth is, but I can't see, then the type of person is stopping themselves in their tracks.
That's right.
Because it's not about, but I can't. It's, okay.
It's like, how can I make this? Yeah, how can I make this work?
Yes, how will I do it, even if I can't be?
I get that, and
because that's I mean, that's the situation that you're really looking at right now. That's what I'm nicely trying to tell you. Decide on how much you want to balance it out, but that's really how much it is if it means something to you, use a phrase like, how am I going to do it? Not
right, but first somebody has to, like Sandy was sort of implying, first someone has to understand what it is exactly that I'm looking for, and I almost have to show them so they understand.
Yeah, but you know what though? Putting that aside, dude, you're gonna have to decide on whether you want to suck it up and do it or not. Okay? Because as I talk to you about how these things are possible, what you're saying is, I want to do it like this, but I don't have to use other methods using a different type of Linux. So, and if I could get the flat review to work, so those are cool, but those are kind of, you don't want to put those off. That's a method of putting that off on.
Well, Manny, if I were that good at mastering other systems, I could be using Emacs or something, or Vim in Linux, which I don't understand. Amplifying on.
But see, it's not about, bro. I'm telling you, it's not about who's good. I'm going to tell you, a long time ago when I first started doing tech support over the phone to sighted people, you learn a method. And after a while, I could support and I could do technical support on systems that I had no idea how to use even. I'm learning new operating systems, not because I'm smart, but it's because I found a method that with little steps, because I'm lazy, with small steps and steps that are reproducible, it's possible to get to know something like a new operating system.
Yeah,
you take it in steps and you pursue a method.
I want to jump in and say something.
Yeah.
I'm totally with Manny on this one. I also want to say one thing. As anybody knows, I was born blind. I didn't accept it, so I found a way around it. Easy as that.
Yeah.
And I was tired of the fact that I couldn't see objects, stuff like that. So I found a way around it. When I walk out in public, I may look antisocial as hell, but you know what? I really don't give a fuck, because, and I'm gonna use the word liberally right now because it is what I think. I could go out and get Google glasses, but see, here's the thing: Google decided to put not so good hardware into those glasses, so they're gonna be bad for the program that I use for seeing objects. And it's the same thing, you're gonna find out, okay, even that you look weird, even that you maybe look like a robot or android or whatever, is it gonna solve your problem? Do you want to put in the effort to learn this operating system? Because if you don't, if you already know by now, this moment, that, okay, I'm buying out, this is too much of a hassle, then you're never gonna learn it. Never. In a million years. Yeah. On the other hand, if you're willing to sit down and use maybe 20 minutes every day to go over the same commands over and over and over, you said this yourself, if you don't use stuff in about a week, you forget about it. I understand this.
That's right.
I understand this.
I'm that way.
What?
Me too.
Okay.
I said me too.
I'm not gonna comment about that one. It has to do with male versus female, but okay. So oh man. I'm gonna say this, Chime. I think first of all, I want to say this. I think you're an incredible individual. I mean, man, when I think about the problems you must have been going through to come to where you are right now, I mean, holy moly.
Well, thank you. Whoops, you dropped something.
Next, I'm gonna say this. I think you should lie down and sleep tonight. Close your eyes and think to yourself, not to me, to you. Do I want to spend the time on learning the Chromebook operating system or not? And I will say this. I think you should give it a go. I definitely think you should give it a go. It may be hard, it may be frustrating, it may be a time full of frustration, blood and sweat and tears, but they will be worth it.
Sandy, earlier you asked me, and you gave me the analogy about learning the cane. Well, the other avenue that I tried learning about 3 or 4 years ago, no, it was longer than that, was I got a iPhone, and I had it for like 2 months. I could not master that thing because I can't deal with a touch screen. And then I tried an Android. That didn't work out. Then I tried a capsule.
But they both have touch screens, right?
Yeah, I know. So at the time, then the Capsys came out. It's from France or somewhere, and it has it's sort of it's mostly touchscreen, but it's got it's sort of a hybrid. And eventually, I ended up with something called a blind shell, which it's from France or somewhere, one of the countries, and it's completely menu driven, and I'm very, very happy with this phone. But it's just like, I look back on the time that I tried to learn the iPhone and some of that as shall I use the word failure? Yeah, it was a disaster. I put a lot of time and effort into it. I just couldn't deal with it, and so.
Explain the dealing with part. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's just, if you're not having success with something and you just keep trying to master something that's not working for you, that was the same concept as my crossing streets or, other things that I've began to try. And hold on, my phone's ringing. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Right here. Okay. I'll open the door for my wife.
Okay.
Let me open the door.
Mm-hmm.
Manny, I really want to thank you. You've been a really, really big help tonight. I want you to know this.
No, it's okay.
No, honest. I mean, right now, I'm still gonna think what I'm saying before because I really think you should take the time to learn the Chromebook, but I don't know. I would do it. But then of course I mean I'm the female who tried to dock the Falcon to the International Space Station from my Chromebook, and yeah. They made it it's a game, and
that's so cool.
It's awesome, and so yeah, I don't know, they're just different people out there. He talked about scrambled eggs, the right way versus the microwave. I definitely want to do the right way, but hey, again, that's just me. I mean, I love my microwave, but yeah.
You guys, I'm going to tell you what may seem like a funny story, but it almost ended up in a disaster. I tend sometimes to think, well, gee, I'll just take a shortcut and get away with something. And so this is back in the time, 1978, my first year here living alone. And I thought,
Nothing. We're listening.
Okay, I get distracted easily by sounds coming at me while I'm talking. It's like, and so here I am, this was one morning where there was a cold piece of a chicken bone in the refrigerator. And I thought, okay, I know that this is, maybe a risk, but I'm going to put this chicken bone on a paper plate upside down on the stove thinking that the chicken bone will heat fat before the plate burns up. And of course, it didn't work very well because the plate started to sizzle. I thought, that wasn't so good. Then I did the wrong thing and hurled it into the wastebasket, thinking I'll get it out of my way. The wastebasket starts to burn up. So I ran out of here. Well, this is back several places ago. And it's this funny story that I tell because I sometimes think, well, this can get done in a faster way rather than, getting a frying pan out or some other thing, And obviously now the microwave is the perfect solution for my problem. I can put a paper plate in the microwave and it doesn't matter. So, in a way, I won.
Okay. Yeah. And that is kind of just an unaware thing, right? Like, I've seen while I worked at a place where we teach the blind how to reheat safely, and I know how to do plenty of that too, but I know that in general, guys can be very, we're human and we think a lot of times in terms of shortcuts.
Yeah.
And you start to learn as you grow older which ones are likely to work and which ones are not.
Wait a minute, hold on a sec. My wife's trying to talk and it's too much. 1 second, let me help her and I'll be right with you.
I don't need
Sure.
I need help, and I said, but you didn't care of my answer.
44%.
You want me to answer, then don't ask.
I know, but it's the racket of the bag that's interrupting us. So it's like, I'd be glad to help you. We'll get it done faster,
No.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sandy. She's come. I mean, not Sandy. Mandy. She's come back with groceries of some kind, and the racket of the paper bag was like,
Okay.
It's louder. It was louder than you are, and I can't. I've got the volume up all the way on this thing, and I can't make it any higher.
52%. 22.
Anyway, so you were saying about and like shortcuts. Like I used to think, I'm a radio groupie, right? I used to think, well, gee, if I put the dial at 540 or 530 on the dial, and I push the dial a little further, I can go down to 520 or 490. But in the old days, I would break the dial cord. It's like, well, I did that many times. That's how I thought. It's like, well, gee, why does it have to stop where it has to stop?
Yeah, you have to be very, have to have a feather touch, especially with mechanical type devices. And I guess in that way, I needed to be told a lot of times when a teacher knew I was trying to create a shortcut, because they would have to show me, hey, I know that you were trying to do this, and do you see how it turned out?
Yes.
Maybe next time, do it the way that we recommended you to do. Yeah. Or, later when it became a peer thing, the advice was, hey, look at your peers who are having success with this step and ask them, what are they doing different? What are they doing? And you compare it to while you're doing it, and maybe you'll come up with an answer that way.
Yeah.
I want to make a comment about that one. The only thing I was told with mechanics and technology was, wow, you took it apart and you pulled it back together. Otter girl.
Oh, yeah. No, and it's fun to do that. And, hey, I like to saw and work with wood. And, of course, I have had my hand or finger beneath something, and you buzz yourself with a blade, and that's when you start to realize, okay, I can't do it that way, and I was trying to take the fast way out, Instead of putting a piece of wood down, I'm like, I can cut it here in my hand,
Yeah. Manny, unlike a majority system like Windows, there is no one in the local area that I can think of that uses a Chromebook with a screen reader that I could say, get them on the phone and work with them live or have them come over, even if there weren't a pandemic. It's
that's more, right.
It's less of like, right. Yeah.
What do you think to do about it? Like what?
Well, now
you're older than me. What do you think you're like? Yeah, how would you resolve that?
Well, I mean, now at least with things like Zoom and other platforms like this, there are probably ways of getting on live with somebody, even if they're around the world, and working with them. Yeah, I see that.
Okay. What else?
I don't know. I have to have. There has to be enough successes come my way with something new before I'm really intrigued. Like, oh, gee, this is really neat. I can do this. Otherwise, it's kind of like it's another thing that I started, and it's another thing that I quit on. And
okay.
I just want to say one thing before he goes on. You have that success right now. You just are not. You are not seeing it. You have that success right now, right here, right now.
And what's that?
Well, you cannot, as far as I know, Google Meet doesn't work from your command line on Linux.
I'm sorry, what doesn't work from Linux?
Google Meet.
I'm sorry, you're garbled up with that stupid
Google Meet. Google Meet.
Oh, Google. Oh, yeah. Right, and Google. Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. But it's not like I haven't had my frustrations with getting in. The 1 week it was my own doing because I didn't follow the new link, and but other weeks. Yeah.
Then, dude, first of all, you are going to have to back yourself off, okay? Consider, because your sounds to me like Sandy pointed it out, and you said, but it came with its own price of frustrations. Okay, now you're 68. I know that you probably know better than me that's the way life is, right?
I don't look at it that way.
Oh, okay.
I know.
You need to, because you need to understand that things will come with their frustrations.
Yeah, but you see,
that's not the reason why you give up, okay? And more to the point, all right? You're a positive guy, and I think you're trying to remain positive. But here's the deal. If you don't say it like it is, right? And if you don't say, yes, there are some frustrations, but so what? I got through it. If you continually tie yourself to what frustrations existed on the way to glory, then that is going to be what is highlighted in your mind, is the frustrations. Okay, so I know that you're looking for success. If you're looking for successful trends to stack on each other, because you're trying to create a trend in our minds, that's what I do too. You got to stop pointing at, yeah, but this is shitty. Yeah, this was frustrating. Yeah, but it sucked on the way up.
No, it was a reference point. It was a reference point.
Well, that's true, but leave it. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever stepped in a mud puddle?
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't ever go up and say, man, this room is dirty. Kind of like that day I stepped in that mud puddle. You know what I mean? It doesn't remain something that is, it's not a milepost for you.
Oh, well, I have to differ on that comment because, my mom used to have dogs all the time, and with French poodles and collies, you step in a lot of SH. And in those days back in New Jersey, they didn't have laws to pick up after your dog and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so I remember all of that.
I'm not talking about that.
No, but I'm saying that's part of the reason I don't like.
And I've done that too.
No, but
and I still don't talk about my successes come, and it might as well just wipe out those frustrations, because after a while they don't matter. Dude, how does it help me if I point out how much trouble I had learning DOS and JAWS? It doesn't. It wouldn't have even helped me make it into Windows if I would have said, yeah, but man, every time I tried to use my screen reader to identify where I was at, I always kept messing up the keystroke. If I would keep referring back to that, then I am literally undermining my chances for that success. Okay? Yeah. That's going to be for you too. So instead of, and I know that, we have a lot of things, but you have to let it go in order to get that further, that further empowerment that you're wanting. So let's go back to educating ourselves on Chrome. So I don't have that either. I don't have a Chrome teacher, right? Yeah. Like I told you, I'm not a super smart guy either. What we do, though, and I have a feeling that you're probably better at this than you've let on here, is that gathering resources is super important. So look up YouTube. Go on YouTube. See if you can even just type in Chromebox and start seeing what people do and follow with them. Okay?
Right.
Laura's videos were short, but even if there were only 2 or 3 commands that she was demonstrating, I did them right along with her and watched my Chromebook say the same things. That's where, if we don't have that person to take us through step by step,
right,
we just slowly start to build little things.
Yeah. And the thing is that there are some videos of certain things I've listened to that demonstrate a screen reader, but yet they're done by somebody sighted, and they don't tell you what keystrokes they're typing. That doesn't help either. But if Laura's are better than that.
You'll need to listen up, though. You will need to listen out for keystrokes. Because I will tell you this, Chime, that 90% of people who are demonstrating online, if they come from a company, okay, not if they're the average user, they may not, but most screen readers do give a key echo. So when we pull up a JAWS tutorial, you'll hear it say Alt-Tab.
Right.
They'll say, I'm using the keyboard command for this.
Yes.
That's the way.
I want to say something really, really fast.
Try.
I think Sandy wants to.
If you take my I made a couple of really long videos where I ran into it, and every time Laura does the same thing. I think what I think we're gonna do to Chime today is that we're gonna say, go out, look at Laura's videos, come back,
I will.
Tell us what you think about it, because if
tried, furthermore.
Yeah, and because if Laura's way of getting the information to you works, we just need to watch the same videos and we can do the same thing. I mean, that's the way to do it. But
yeah,
this is the thing. It is gonna be frustrating. You're gonna step in mud puddles and DS until you learn those commands. But here's the good thing. It was the exactly same situation that you was all in when you started on DOS and Linux. Exactly the same thing. No difference at all. I'm gonna be having to leave you guys for 5 or 10 minutes, but I will be watching on the sideline. I just won't be saying much.
Okay, but are you going to be listening?
Yeah, I'm gonna be listening.
Okay, so as I might have mentioned this before along the way. I mean, when I first got my DOS machine, I didn't know DOS. I knew how to type. But I didn't understand DOS. I didn't understand why there was an 8-character limit in a file name. I was trying to save I had an open book, and that was a OCR, and
I remember.
Yeah, and it was wonderful. And so I scanned a pamphlet on astrology, and I thought, it's funny. It doesn't let me type the Y at the end of the word. It was the astrolog. I'm like, well, and the people that I bought the machine through, I said, can you please write to Arkenstone and find out why they can't increase the limit on it? Well, I didn't know it was some kind of a hard-coded limit of 8 characters in DOS. So the guy who I bought the machine through would send me cassette tapes, and he'd say, okay, to run this batch file type, to get on CompuServe, do CIS and followed by the enter key. So I was memorizing by rote the commands, which, it took me 2 years until 1996 until I finally realized, oh, gee, if I'm using this command in this sequence, then I can use it in this other sequence, and I can write my own batch files and stuff. And I was starting to make some progress. And then about a year and a half later, I changed to a Windows 95 machine, and so I could get sound. And but I still found myself most of the time just going to a DOS prompt to do what I was used to, and going into Pine on a shell account. So
what is your point with? Because
my point is that once in a blue moon, I can figure something out, very slowly, and it makes sense. But in general, I probably have to work with somebody, like Sandy was saying, I think 20 minutes at a time, and go over commands. That might work. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That I get that.
But
realize, you recognize, you're mature enough, and you recognize the box that you're in.
Oh yeah. I know
that. Yes, the teachers are not growing on trees for Chromebooks, and we have to self-educate.
Yeah.
And you are not any different than me. Brother, I am hard-headed, okay? My mom will tell you that. I am more hard-headed than that when it comes to commands and computers. So I understand going slow. Yeah. And I understand that it takes a while to get it in there. But, again, it's recognizing, okay, do I want to do something about it or stay right where we're at? And hey, for the right person, it makes sense if they would give up the machine and go back to what made them comfortable.
Well, I mean, I have my a Linux desktop and a Linux laptop sitting here. It's not like I threw them in the wastebasket for the Chromebook. The Chromebook was just supposed to be something additional, plus hopefully a traveling machine, but it didn't happen that way yet. And there was a.
Blame it on me.
Oh no! My wife said it. Blame it on her. No, she listens to Leo Laporte's show, and Leo Laporte seems to think you need a $1,200 Chromebook to have enough power. But
okay. But again, that just depends on what you're doing with it. Yeah.
Hey, I want to jump in and say that in some situations, your wife is right.
Yeah.
Because the Pixel Go, it's not a $1,200 machine, but it's kind of close. I think I gave what I gave. My next one is probably going to be a $1,200 machine. It's going to be the i7 with 16 gigs, because I'm tired of this one being slow. So I need to do something about it, as they say. Yeah. I'm back to listening mode.
Okay, I was going to ask you both. Well, I mean, I whether you both know this or not, I don't know. But is there an equivalent keystroke in the Chromebook like the insert T? Well, I know there's two insert keys. They're separated by a little key on the right side, where it tells you what the application is that's focused. Is there something?
Yes, indeed. Okay, so yes, and I'll tell you. But I do want you to know that is the thought process that I went when I was talking about doing similar tasks that I, on one machine that I took the other. That was one of the first commands that I hunted down, was how to identify the window. And it is search K and O. Okay, but that's a good thing that you asked that, because that's, for me as a blind user, that's what was critical, is knowing where I'm at. So pretty much one of the first things I learned, whatever OS I'm in,
no current Chromebox focus. Press the volume.
try to find out how to identify where I'm at.
But search K and O, in this case, that's 4 keystrokes.
Fastball Manuel Aragon till din Hobbitscam. Snarliden fra for microphone. Fastball Manuel Aragon till din
Don't start
Hobbitscam.
fighting with me. I'm telling you that it's possible, okay?
Manuel Aragon and Fastball Manuel Aragon till din
I'm telling you with love,
Hobbitscam.
because It's not.
Search. K. Announces a complete
if you want
description
to
of the
quibble
code.
over how it's constructed,
F. John Chime.
that's a
Manuel
different
Aragon.
talk.
F. John Chime.
But
Capsis
the
Frau
fact
called
that
it.
it exists,
Manuel Aragon.
Yeah.
Fast call Manuel
Well, you
Aragon.
kind of
Star lighting
need
from
this
microphone until her end man.
okay?
Yeah.
Because, dude, I mean, I can,
In
it's
microphone,
very
quiet.
possible
In microphone,
to find any of these things by saying, yeah, but it sucks.
Alert. Secondary
Yeah,
project.
No,
In
I'm
microphone.
not. I mean, yeah, but when you say search KO, are you asking me to type 4 things at once or 3?
2 and then 1. But
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, this is where you yourself, with your own 10 fingers, must experiment.
Yeah.
You must experiment, okay, to see how that goes. Because I will tell you again, from experience, I didn't know how that worked either. I wasn't sure whether it was like doing 2 keystrokes and then adding a third one after, or do you do all at the same time, or what? I had to experiment.
Does Laura go over that on the videos?
Sticky mode enabled.
She goes over some of it.
Okay, good. I will certainly try and make it my business to watch the videos in between now and next Friday. And since my wife is standing in the kitchen making some horrible Mexican food or whatever this is, I don't know, I will make sure that she reminds me before next Friday to ask me if I've listened to the videos yet. So make sure it gets done.
And if she reminds you, then you can make her something.
She's a cook. She's a very good cook. All I know how to do is burn up paper plates, right? Yeah.
Well, until you start learning, then you can start putting some dinner out for her, yo.
Yeah. No, we have a whole different scheme between us about food and dinners and things. We don't usually eat the same thing the same night, unless she cooks for me, and But she's a very good cook, and I just wish, I wish she was as good a typist as she is a cook. She would shine.
Oh, why does she do your typing for you or something?
No. She needs to brush up on her typing, so that she can.
We'll leave her typing qualities out of the conversation for now, because.
No, but I'm just saying that everyone excels at different things, and while I tend to look at her and other situations as like, well, why couldn't they just be a mirror of myself? Instead of, it's like, okay, somebody's different, I'm different. It's like, well,
yeah, because by that same thing, I'm looking at you saying, why won't he take 1 or 2 simple steps? And again, it's
1 hour 32 minutes and 1 hour.
Since we're all human, right?
Yeah, I know, and that's
many characteristics which are similar, and yet we're all still different.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard for me to accept because okay, now I think she's coming back again. Oh wait, is it 12 o'clock already?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
It really? Oh my God, this whole day is floating away.
I'll make sure.
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock. There was 1 second, Susie. Let me get a sentence out, and then. Oh yeah, I know what I was going to say, Manny. The thing is that I, as an Aquarian, and I have Libra rising, and I'm not an astrology expert. I wish I could find a Linux program that could do my chart and something I could read, and understand. But,
Right.
A lot of the programs are probably graphical or they're whatever. But Libra, the way I understand Libra, it has to do with balance, and that's probably why I like things so bloody consistent day after year after year. I mean, yesterday is like tomorrow for me. There is no. I don't wake up like my wife wakes up probably in the morning and says, who can I help today? Who can I outreach? Who can I make a difference? I wake up and it's like, okay, it's time to get the news. It's time to look at my mail. It's time to update my Debian system. It's time to look at, all the different things I look at. I don't look at it like, well, Jesus, today's going to be different than yesterday. I mean, I don't do that.
Maybe you should.
Well, but I'm comfortable.
I want to put one thing in.
It's
Chime.
not comfortable, but either, you live with it or don't bitch. You know what I mean?
Wait a minute. Her feet.
And I'm not saying that to be mean.
No, hold on. Her feedback is drowning you out again. She wants to talk, and she just didn't wait for you to finish the sentence. She just jumped in and said, "I want to say something." It's like, well,
that's okay. Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm basically doing the same thing as your wife, Chime. So do me a big favor. Tell her from me, thank you for her service.
Exactly.
And that's the way you need to. This is the way you need to look at it. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, she's blind. Think about the good she does to people. I mean, holy moly, I am amazed.
Sandy, my wife used to see until about 21 years ago, and so
and
my guess is that if she were blind from birth, she might have entered the computer world the way the rest of us did. But because
I was blind from birth, I was blind from birth, by the way. Well, I have very little eyesight on one eye. I mean,
right, but she thinks of things in a sighted way, and she still dreams in full color.
Yeah, I do too. What's the difference? She can't see now.
Right. I know, but her mind still thinks that she can see, I think.
You think you need to ask her. Well, you ought to ask her. You don't need to ask her, but you ought to ask her because you know.
All right, hold on a second. If you want, I could have her come over and talk to you for a second.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, so Susie's going to come and talk to you. Okay, thank you. A bit left.
Oh, wait.
Well, I'm going to get you the move.
I need to unplug you back.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Susie. Sandy speaking again, Emmanuel. We're trying to make, chime, basically.
Thanks a little bit more.
And it's really, really interesting. So we was basically talking about, the different kind of experience that people have. And I'm guessing that the point we're trying to make is that he needs to take stuff slowly. And then he kind of got onto whether your mind was going on in a silent kind of way. I don't know if that's true or false, but mine does, so yay.
She thought that thank you for doing your service was a good thing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She doesn't know which one.
Yeah, I think because we are different, we help each other. Where I'm weak, he's stronger. Where I'm stronger and he's weaker, we help each other, and there's the balance.
Right.
Absolutely, and I agree on that.
And when he talks about how you make... I don't know, I guess when somebody makes food for me, I don't call it whatever horrible it's smelling or something like that.
I wasn't cooking for him because he doesn't like Mexican food. I was eating my food, but, I know what he likes, so I cook what he likes for him.
Yeah, I get that.
Yep.
I just know it's nicer for those who are doing when they do for us to leave the opinion out of it. You know what I mean? You thank people.
He's very thankful. There's my phone. I cook for him what he likes, and there are things that I like, we both like together, but I don't give him the things that he doesn't like. Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
It's been a good talk that we've been having with.
Yep. I heard he was explaining to you how he learned to use a computer, and I'm basically learning how to use my computer because of Zoom meetings. So in a way, the pandemic has been good for me because it kind of forced me to get out of my comfort zone, which was, I really don't need a computer. My husband has 4 of his own. Why should I use it? Well, that's not a good mindset, and I know that. But he would not be a good teacher. That's the other thing. He's not a good teacher for me. He might be a good teacher for someone else, but it's like you never want to teach your wife or your husband to drive a car. Not a good idea. Well, This is the same idea. I don't think, and he knows this, he would not be the one to teach me. and I haven't found the right person to teach me.
Actually, I'm gonna say this though. If you want to ever go and give the Chromebook a go, by all means, just join in. I mean, we'd be happy to have you.
Well, that would buy that. Yeah, we'd have to buy another Chromebook.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
maybe your husband is used to this. It's called timeshare.
Okay. I can use this Chromebook. He's giving me permission.
I think that'd be fun, actually.
Earlier, Sandy asked me, why don't I get you a Linux computer?
No. That's not what I said. I said, why don't you go and give her a Chromebook? That's what I would have done. I would have gotten her out of that horrible Windows world and to the love and namaste of Chromebooks.
Let me
Absolutely.
tell you something, Miss Sandy. Years ago, Susie was looking for a way to keep notes of phone numbers and things like that. And without a computer or without you reading Braille, which she doesn't read Braille, we thought,
I don't either.
We'll get her
What do I need it for?
We'll get her. Sandy, please let me finish the sentence.
Copy that.
So I got her a Victor Reader Stream, and
they're horrible.
But the what?
Nothing. Go on, sir.
The feedback is driving me crap. I'm going to be having lunch in about 3 minutes, so I'll be off your hands here. So
go on.
I got her a Victor Stream, thinking that this would be a perfect tool for her. So she never really got comfortable with it, and it ended up being my machine again. And it's like every time I try to get her new technology, for the most part, it doesn't work out very well for reasons that we. Okay. What's the reason? Okay.
You got the Victor Reader Stream, and you started playing with it, and I'm like, okay, it's yours.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I am looking at this, I also remember this. Me and Susie are females. We look at things. Females, we just look at things differently. It is true, we do, yeah. And we need our own things. We need our own space where we can be feminine, where we can do our own thing in our own time, in our own manner. And I'm telling you, child, right now, she is probably standing, nodding her head along with Miss Anderson's.
Oh, yeah.
See, I got it right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think you definitely give her a Chromebook. Get her out of Windows. It's bad for her in any way and sound. That's what I think. Unfortunately, I need to leave you guys for 3 minutes, and then I'll be back with you all.
Yeah, I'm making lunch right now in the microwave, which I'm already late for, because I usually try to have breakfast at 6, lunch at 12, and dinner at 7. And I'm somewhat, as Manny could understand, now I'm such a creature of habit that if something's a few minutes off, it's like,
I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to finish my lunch too.
And beyond that, being a news junkie, and I haven't heard anything in 4 hours, I'm like, oh, this is a bad thing now. So but you don't, Manny, you don't. Well, you'll understand what I told you. I have over 3,045s. I had about 9,000 reel-to-reel tapes of news programming that I recorded off the air, and about 1,000 VHS tapes that I donated them to a university because Susie needed a room to call her bedroom, and the tapes were in there.
Sure.
And the university can take better care of them and catalog them, which I didn't. I was so busy recording new ones, I didn't spend the time to write up an index.
Sure.
And so anyway, that's the deal. I'm going to thank you all for your comments and suggestions. I am going to watch Laura's videos, in the next week and see what I think, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Just take one of those videos and try one thing in one of those videos.
Uh-huh.
Like actually make your hands do the walking and do
right.
that. And that will start a pattern. Don't think you got to do them all or anything like that.
No.
Just do one thing.
That right. It's like the old phrase about learning how to walk before you crawl or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And like that, I pretty much spent a few minutes just going from the from the launcher back to the center of the page and then back again.
Yeah.
Making sure I understand the way the prompts sound.
Yeah, it's really something though. If you hit a Control W to close Windows, it doesn't like put you into a default place like a desktop or something where you can just do the next thing. It's like you tab around and there's nothing there. It's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah. You got to figure out what else to go to, like the launcher.
Yeah. I mean, at least. I'm not saying that Windows is always better than that because it isn't, but at least if you hit Alt F4 to close the last window, there's still something there. You get a prompt. Do you want to shut down Windows? What do you want to do? It's a little more intuitive in that way.
Sometimes. Maybe I don't know if you know this, but Alt F4 is very contextual. It does one thing in one place, something else in another place.
Oh, yeah?
It always closes, but only in a certain situation, when you're focused in a certain situation, will Alt F4 close Windows.
Uh-huh.
So you have to, you can't forget that nuance about it. Because I've had plenty of times where I've closed, Firefox or Chrome, and because my screen reader doesn't focus on anything else, it just hangs and it doesn't say anything.
Yeah, when Susie
happened, and you don't take it as, you just take it as, oh, that's what happened. I know no matter what, if I want to get to my start menu, I know how to get there, and I don't need Josh to have said anything on the previous screen.
Right, you do Windows key M.
Or Windows key to go to the start menu.
Oh.
That's just the point, is that you kind of, you're always in command by knowing what key command will do which thing. So even if I don't get the appropriate feedback from my screen reader, I still do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting.
That's what I do with my insert T.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting with Susie's machine, when she turns it on many times, all that's focused is something called collector. I'm like, what is this and why is it there? And it's recently, and it's very difficult to close that out so I can get to the desktop.
You might just have to do something like an Alt Tab.
We try. It doesn't help.
Okay. Well, that being the case, though, let's let each other eat lunch.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead and try out one of those videos.
I'm going to do that. I have to later today. I have to try to register for a live seminar about the Cuban Missile Crisis that I want to hear.
Awesome.
And I want to see if I can get to register for that, because it's Eventbrite, and which I guess isn't the most accessible tool.
It's not great, but boy, I'll tell you, it sure. I found it very beneficial once I learned its few quirks. You can still move by headings. I found some great conferences to attend.
Yeah, that's
so
nice.
Get comfortable with it. I'm sure that you'll like it.
I'm going to give it a shot a little later. So anyway, thanks so much. And obviously, if there's something you want to ask or tell me, you want to write directly. Of course, it's chime@hubert-humphrey.com.
Cool.
And that's the deal.
I certainly will, man.
All right. Thanks so much. And Sandy, wherever you are, thanks for your.
Thank you, Sandy.
And Susie says, thank you, Sandy.
And Manny.
And Manny, yeah.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right. So I'm going to go hit Control W and start closing this stuff out. I'm not going to turn off the Chromebook because I want to try to register for that meeting. So.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks so much.
Take care, brother.
Cheerio.
All right. Bye, Sandy.
I hit Control. It's not letting me.
Here.
It's not letting me hit Control W. Great.
We might have to leave for you.
Chime capsies half format modded.
Sandy. I know you can hear me.
Alert. Siga du noche din microphone slacket.
But I have to go now, so I'm going to leave you, and I'll see you next week. Have a good... Well, it's nighttime there, so you're not eating lunch, but talk to you later.
Manuel Aragon and half format modded. Status. Manuel Aragon and half format modded.
Let's see.
Presented clear value like big. Shayal chat med big. Fast new can devices I felt I detlect modded atelier. Button. Trend microphone control full ad call. Trend camera control plus C. Presenter new. Button. Has pop up. Collapsed.
Good.
Camera window. Camera. 1 hour 52 minutes and 49. 1 hour 52 minutes and 50. 1 hour 52 minutes.
Apparently the other ones in the meeting left before I came back. It has been an interesting evening, and I think I need to work on the recording because I can also hear it myself that when it's on the camera on, the camera and the mic on at the same time, it starts chopping up. Didn't the last time, but I'm gonna look into it, see what it does, see what it doesn't, and that's gonna be it. I also gotta, for anyone other watching this one video, go out and watch Laura's video. I seem to recall, I'll be honest and say this, I seem to recall that she do a very good rundown of the Chromebook essentials, getting stuff done, finding your way around. There's a couple of things that I personally don't think I will ever see in Chromios, but hey, that's me. And I don't know. I'm hoping that Chime and Manny have had a wonderful evening. Apparently I had to run before they came back, so that's gonna be it for today.
Microphone. Tick box. Go to gallery. But microphone. Stop recording.
So From my heart to yours. Namaste.